A voice whose weight is immense, the great voice of Bossuet, made itself heard in this cause. The shield of religion nobly took his stand before the Blessed Virgin. The opinion of the Immaculate Conception, says he, has, I know not what, force which persuades pious souls. After the articles of faith, I see but few things better assured. Hence I am not surprised that the Paris School of Theology obliges all its members to defend this doctrine. For my own part, I am delighted now to follow its intentions. After having been nursed on its milk, I willingly submit to its ordinance, the more so as this seems to me to be also the will of the Church. She has a very great veneration for the conception of Mary. She does not, it is true, oblige us to believe it immaculate, but she makes us understand that that belief is very pleasing to her. There are things which she commands, and by them we manifest our obedience. There are others which she insinuates, and by them we may testify our affection. It is for our piety, if we are true children of the Church, not only to obey the commandments, but to bow to the slightest indications of the will of a mother so good and so holy. It is certain that the devotion to the Blessed Virgin has been common in Western Europe from the medieval times, and, since then, it has made immense progress, but, without meaning to disparage France and Italy, those two nations so eminently devoted to the Virgin, it must be acknowledged that it is Spain which has labored the most zealously and ardently for the propagation of that doctrine. The Spanish Church, protesting against the pretensions of the Church of Normandy, which attributes to itself the institution of the Feast of the Immaculate Conception of Our Lady in the West, will have it that it has been observed in Spain ever since the 7th century.
La Iglesia Española fue la primera que celebra la Inmaculada Concepción de Santísima Virgen. Ella fiesta tuvo luye y ella desde el siglo XVII.
Translation. The Spanish Church was the first to celebrate the Immaculate Conception of the Holy Virgin. This festival took place there since the 7th century.
It is certain that, in 1394, Don Juan I of Aragon, who instituted it in the name of the king, in the several provinces of Spain which had shaken off the yoke of Islamism, affirms that a great number of his predecessors had celebrated this festival before him.
Note: this is the decree of Don Juan I of Aragon, we Don Juan, by the grace of God, King of Aragon and Valencia etc. Why is it that some persons are amazed to hear that the ever-blessed Mary, Mother of God, was conceived without original sin, whilst they doubt not that Saint John the Baptist was sanctified in his mother's womb by the same God, who coming down from the highest heavens, and from the throne of the most holy Trinity, was made flesh in the blessed womb of a virgin? What graces do we think could the Lord withhold from the woman who brought him forth, by the splendid miracle of her fruitful virginity? Loving his mother as he loves her, he must have invested with the most glorious privileges her conception, her nativity, and the other phases of her holy life. Why raise up a doubt as to the glorious conception of a virgin so privileged, and of whom we are obliged, by Catholic faith, to believe wonders and greatness beyond the reach of our imagination? Is it not, for all Christians, a much greater subject of admiration, to see that a creature has begotten her Creator, and become a mother without ceasing to be a virgin? How, then, can the human mind give adequate praise to that glorious Virgin, destined by the Almighty to possess, without the slightest corruption, the advantages of divine maternity, conjointly with the glory of the purest virginity, and to be placed over all the prophets, over all the saints, and over all the choirs of angels, as their queen? Could the stain of original sin have been imputed to her even for an instant, there would then have been some deficiency of grace and of purity in that excellent Virgin, to whom the angel of the Lord, the ambassador of heaven, addressed these words: Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Let those persons who speak so unreasonably be now silent. Let those who have only vain and frivolous arguments to propose against the Immaculate Conception, so privileged and so pure, of the Blessed Virgin, be ashamed to publish them. Because it was expedient that she should be endowed with so great purity, that after that of God, there could be none such imagined. It is likewise most fitting that she, who became the mother of the Creator and Father of all things, should have been ever and always purest, fairest and most perfect, having been chosen from the beginning and before all ages, by an eternal decree of God, to bear in her womb him whom the whole world and all the immensity of the heavens cannot contain. But we who, of all Catholic kings, have received from this Mother of Mercy so many graces and benefits undeserved by us, we firmly believe that the conception of this Blessed Virgin, in whose womb the Son of God vouchsafed to become man, was indeed holy and immaculate. Hence, we honor with a pure heart the mystery of that immaculate and blessed conception of the most Blessed Virgin, Mother of God, and we, with all the royal house, do annually solemnize the feast thereof, even as our most illustrious predecessors, of glorious memory, did celebrate the same, having established a perpetual confraternity thereof. Wherefore, we do hereby ordain that this festival of the Immaculate Conception be celebrated every year in perpetuity, with great solemnity and respect, throughout all the kingdoms subject unto us, by all faithful Catholics, whether religious or secular priests and laity, of whatsoever state or condition they may be, and that, henceforward, it is not permitted, but expressly forbidden, to all preachers, and to all those who publicly expound the gospel, to say, to advance, or to publish anything that might, in any way whatsoever, be prejudicial or hurtful to the purity and holiness of that blessed conception. But, on the contrary, we ordain that preachers, and other persons who have had opposite sentiments, shall keep silent, since the Catholic faith does not in any way oblige us to maintain and profess the contrary opinion, and that others, who cherish in their hearts our own holy and salutary opinion, may publish it in their discourses, and hasten to manifest their devotion by celebrating, through the praises of the Most High, the glory and honor of His Holy Mother, who is the Queen of Heaven, the gate of paradise, the protectress of our souls, the sure port of salvation, and the anchor of hope for sinners who have confidence in her. We now hereby expressly establish, in perpetuity, that if it happen that any preacher, or any other of our subjects, of any state or condition, fail to observe this ordinance, unless exempt by reason of some of our other edicts, that they be expelled from their convents and houses, and, whilst they retain that contrary opinion, they shall be driven, as our enemies, from all parts of our dominions, commanding likewise, and decreeing, in our knowledge and mature deliberation, that all and each of our officers, whether at home or abroad, present or future, shall observe, and cause to be observed, with great diligence and respect, our present edict, as soon as they are made cognizant thereof, and that each, in his district, shall have it published exactly, solemnly, and by sound of trumpet in all the accustomed places, to the end that no one may plead ignorance, and that the devotion of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin, so long preserved in the hearts of Christians, may increase more and more, and that no one may ever again be heard to express a contrary opinion. In faith whereof we command that these present acts be dispatched everywhere, duly authorized by our sign and seal, hereto attached, given at Valencia, on the 2nd of February, being the feast of the purification of that ever-blessed Virgin, the year of our Lord 1384, and the 8th of our reign.
We shall not decide between the two churches, but if Spain have but a doubtful claim to the institution of that festival of Mary, which is called in France and in England the Feast of the Normans, she cannot be deprived of the honor of having been the first to erect churches and altars under the title of the Mystery of the Immaculate Conception. In the year 1525, the Spaniards of Mexico placed the splendid Cathedral of Puebla de los Angelos under the invocation of the Immaculate Virgin, whose sacred image stood sparkling with jewels over an altar of massive silver, surrounded by a multitude of elegant pillars, with plinths and capitals of burnished gold. The faithful of Mexico raised in her honor, in their metropolitan church, an altar and a statue of massive silver, adorned with a magnificence truly Peruvian. A little later, the Mexican cathedrals of Mérida, Maracaibo, and Nabana were founded under the invocation of the Immaculate Virgin. Nor did Peru remain behind. This splendid accession to the doctrine of the conception without sin did not suffice for the zeal of the nations subject to the Spanish domination. In 1618, the Vice-King of Naples, his court and his army, made a vow, in the Church of Our Lady the Great, to believe and to defend the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin. A commemorative pillar, surrounded by a magnificent statue of Our Lady, with the symbolical emblems of her victory over original sin, was raised in testimony of that public engagement so chivalrously contracted. The Spanish people, who have at all times specially signalized themselves in this devotion, have adopted it so far that not a single preacher ascends a pulpit without prefacing his sermon by a profession of faith in the spotless conception, and it has even been introduced into the familiar phrases used in greeting.
Alabado sea el Santísimo Sacramento del altar, y la Inmaculada Concepción de la Virgen María, concebida sin pecado original en el primer instante de su ser natural.
Translation. Praise be to the most holy sacrament of the altar, and to the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary, conceived without original sin, in the first instant of her natural being. Note: on entering the Spanish house, the first words spoken by the visitor, even before wishing good day, are these: Ave Maria Purissima. The people of the house immediately answer: Sin pecado concebida Santissima, holiest, conceived without sin.
Finally, in 1771, whilst the destroying wind of philosophy was violently shaking religious belief in France and several other countries of Europe, the King of Spain, Charles III, instituted an order in honor of the Virgin conceived without sin, and solemnly declared her, with the assembled Cortes and a brief of the Holy See,
Universal patrona de España e Indias. Por la devoción que desde nuestra infancia hemos tenido a María Santísima en su misterio de la Inmaculada Concepción, deseamos poner bajo los divinos auspicios de esta celestial protectora la nueva orden, y mandamos que sea reconocida en ella por patrona.
Translation. Because of the devotion that we have had since our childhood to the Most Holy Mary in her mystery of the Immaculate Conception, we wish to place the new order under the divine auspices of this heavenly protector, and we command that she be recognized as its patron saint.
In France, notwithstanding the license and the unbelief which the flood of revolution left behind it, this doctrine is gaining ground, and penetrating even to the most distant hamlets. The Diocese of Paris is particularly distinguished for its zeal in propagating this pious belief, which flourishes there under the protecting shadow of its archbishops.
Note: it is a fact we would wish to establish, and to make known in even the most remote parts of the Catholic world. In our diocese, this devotion has been rooted deeper and deeper with passing time, and misfortunes have come in plenty to confirm, increase, and extend it with marvelous rapidity.
Confirmed by the supernatural things related of the miraculous medal, struck in honor of the mystery of the spotless conception. If the tradition of the apostles, the inclination of the Church, the authority of councils, the adhesion of universities and religious orders, the assent of kings and nations, the dedication of temples and altars, the foundation of offices, the institution of confraternities and royal orders, have any weight in a controversy which has astonished the pagans themselves.
Note: how, exclaimed Julian the Apostate, addressing a bishop who maintained the universality of original sin, how dost thou, then, subject the birth of Mary to the empire of the devil?
Then the cause of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, so long pending before the tribunal of Catholic opinion, appears to us gained, and we do not think it rash to suppose that God, preserving his divine mother from the original stain, said to her, as Ahasuerus did to Esther, "This law is not made for thee, but for all others."